American dream dead? Can anybody still get wealthy with all the things going on in today's environment? We're going to have this conversation with Anna Kelly, someone who came from nothing and has certainly become wealthy and rich. But I'm curious, could she do it today, or is the game rigged and simply not possible? All right, Anna, can the average American still get rich today, or is it game over?
I think the above average person today could get rich. Yes. Average, probably not. Anyone, probably not. So that's my first thought out of this very tired brain this morning.
Well, I'm actually glad you went there, because for the longest time I believed, because frankly, I talked to 12 or 13 millionaires every week who came from nothing, some less than, like, some negative nothing.
Yeah.
And have earned the dream. And you actually keyed on the exact word that I now change my opinion. I don't think the average American can. I really don't. I mean, if you just look at who the average American is, right? Fat, overweight, stressed, drunk, credit card debt up to their eyeballs. There's nothing about quote unquote average that makes you think you can get out of that. To your point, you've got to be above average. And if you're watching this channel for any longer than more than one video, you're probably not average. You want to understand the process, because I do think the process of getting wealthy hasn't changed in a couple hundred years. Yeah. But the average person won't do it. Why? It takes day one sacrifice. It takes continued sacrifice. It takes 5 years of suck. It takes a decade or a season to get to the other side. It's you get made fun of. You have to sacrifice. I mean, it's just like, no. What makes you think the average American's even worth doing 10% of that, let alone the whole thing? So yeah, I don't think the average person can anymore.
Yeah, and I think that's, it's probably been that way for a long time. But we have more data today. We have more information today about what the average American looks like that maybe we didn't even have, when I was younger. Growing up in poverty, I know that the statistics are that if you're in poverty when you're growing up, you will end up in poverty for the rest of your life. That's the statistics. I beat the statistics. Why? One, absolutely by the grace of God. Like I believe that with all that I am. Number two is I saw the bad stuff, and something deep within me said, I want better. And although we were in poverty, we were like the projects of a pretty nice area. And so I went to school with people who had a lot of money and people who were not in poverty. And I saw what it looked like for them and thought, I want that. And I was able to kind of think about what's different about the decisions my family's making versus the decisions their families made. And so having that desire, that ability to see that people do live differently than you do, and if you do the things that they do, you can probably end up like them, I think is something I'm grateful for that probably wasn't taught. It just is something that I had. And then when you want it bad enough, you have determination to say, what do I need to do and what do I need to learn and who do I need to be around to create a different life than the one that I see? And I can tell you, Michael, growing up in poverty, there's not a lot of people that have a lot of hope. And that's the reality. So if you're surrounded by drugs and alcohol and people working 2 to 3 jobs, bless them, to try to make ends meet, there's not a lot of hope. There's not a lot of excitement day to day. And so you've got to want, like, I don't want this, and not repeat the cycles that unfortunately happen. And we're seeing it, Michael, not just in people today that come from extreme poverty, but the average American that's living check to check to check. There's not a lot of hope and a lot of belief that things can get better. And so you're seeing, middle American housewives and women getting addicted to drugs, right? Getting addicted to alcohol. I mean, I've seen it in middle America. And so I think that's where you start. You say, yeah, things may not be rosy today. Your neighbors and your family and your coworkers might be down in the dumps and have no hope. And you can either join them and you can end up in the exact same places as you are, or you can say, that's not good enough for me. I want something different. And if you do, you've got to muster up the belief, a strong enough belief that's stronger than the pain you're experiencing, and saying, I want something different and I'm willing to do hard things to have a better future than be in the painful situation I am forever. And so I think it begins there. And I think we have enough resources and enough education and knowledge today that we didn't have when you and I were younger, right? MTV was like our technology. And I lived in front of it, all the time. But we have so much knowledge and shows like this that we do to give people steps, actions, mindset shifts, who to get around, how to think differently about life and money. We really have no excuse to not be able to at least create a better future for ourselves. Does that mean everyone will become wealthy? No, most people will drop out and they'll give up. But yes, it's still possible. I still believe in the American dream. And I think that in some ways it's easier for people today because they've got so many more resources to figure out how to do it. But people have to make changes in their lives if they have any hope to experience the American dream versus, people a couple of decades ago.
Yeah, I mean, I want to key in on that because I think there are some steps I want people to take from this. Again, we both believe that the average American can't. So again, if you're watching this, don't be average. That's kind of step one.
Yeah.
But the second thing is if you're, when I go back and I think about my friends, because I was married at 19, so I got married really, really young. Thinking about my kids and my friends in high school and in my early 20s, they're all still living the same life, 30 years later.
Yeah.
Right. Check to check. Some of them are living at home with their parents still, and, they're 50 years old, and they just never saw a better way. Yeah. So one of the things I want to key on is if you are that person and you want a different way, but your friend group, you just don't know anybody. I think you're right. It's never been easier to find that community, right? Social media, I have a school community, you have a community. It's just, you got to get around other people that are doing it. So I'm so happy that the school community we have that you're on all the time is almost 650 people now from all walks of life, all over the country. And you got to want it. You got to go, okay, my friend group is not going anywhere. They're going to be smoking pot and drinking and, out on the stoop, when they're 20 years from now. That's not what I want. So you got to go find new people that are doing what you want. Correct?
Yes, absolutely. Yeah. I mean, there's a quote, I think it's Jim Rohn, you're the average of like the 5 people that you hang around with. And you want to be around people that are opening your eyes into different ways of doing things. And when you see success and you see better, it gives you hope that, hey, if they can do it, I can maybe get there someday. And to start believing, it helps you just change the way that you think and change your mindset. And so it is really important that you surround yourself with people. It's like the crabs that are going to either pull you up or push you down. And if everyone that you're around is negative and making you believe that you're not good enough or wealth isn't for people like us or whatever it might be, they are going to impact your mindset along the way. And every bump along the way that happens, they're going to go, ha ha, told you it's hard. And you're going to give up and think this is too hard for me. So you've got to, obviously you can't, replace everybody in your life, and you need to, care about your family and your friends, obviously, but you've got to make meaningful strides at spending time with people that are going to encourage you and lift you up and show you how to do hard things and how to grow as a person and be constantly learning and being willing to take risks and be willing to learn from them, when you fail, and using that failure as, the next step on the rung to the ladder of success, rather than something that, becomes fatal and final because you give up. So I can't express enough how much I think grit and determination and mindset and the people you hang around with really play in your ability to change your life.
Yeah, it just hit me. I'm looking at my 7 ORAT rules, which I put out like 5 or 6 years ago, and 2 of them are about the people in your world. Rule number 7 is audit your personal network. Basically ask, are they helping or hurting you? This is where I always tell people you got to fire your friends. It sounds harsh. I mean it to sound harsh, because again, it's the crabs that are pulling you in the bucket. Your friends don't want to see you hurt. They don't want to see you change. And, if you are going to get new friends, you got to sometimes fire the old ones. And then I just realized rule number 3 is what you do after that. After you audit your network, is you have to grow your network. My suggestion is meet 2 new people a week. And again, to your earlier point, it has never been easier to do these things, right? With social media, phone, Instagram, all these other platforms, it's never been easier to reach out and meet new people that are doing what you want to do. Folks, here's the end of the day. If some human being is doing what you want to do, that's all you need to know. And if there are hundreds or thousands of them, all the better.
Yeah.
And that's just believe in yourself. If you want it, go get it, right?
Absolutely. And I think that's, you mentioned the belief system, but also yourself, like what you want to do. And that's really important because, the American dream has always been about innovation, the freedom to innovate and to do something and to create something for yourself without some of the, rules that are put upon you in systems like socialism and communism, right? Where you don't have the freedom to explore. So as long as you're not breaking laws, you have the right to create any kind of business you want in this country and to grow it and whatnot. And so the key is not necessarily like, if you had asked me, can I make money the same way that Anna did, that Michael did, as in the same asset class in the same locations, using the same kind of leverage? Is it as easy today as it was, when we got started? The answer might be no, right? Depending on the economy and situations and what's going on in the world and the country. But innovation is the key. So if you can find what you're good at or what's interesting to you and go all in and have the discipline to get better and better and more knowledge and more skills that allow you to do something that the world will pay you money to do, you can become wealthy. And that's this ikigai concept that, I've shared with you a couple of times, is this idea that, if you can find something that you're good at, that you're passionate about, that the world needs and that they're willing to pay you for, that's kind of the sweet spot of how to make money and enjoy your vocation or your side hustle or your investments that you do on the side. It's like, be paid well to do what you're passionate about and then go all in that. And most people, if you go all in something you're passionate about and you continue to learn and you continue to take risks and you can continue to put yourself out there in the world, it's easier to be seen and to get new customers today for sure than it was, before the world of social media and the internet. And so, find something, innovate, find something that you're good at and you're passionate about. And you do that for a decade, and then you wisely steward your money in the process. That's the other piece of this. Like, we have the freedom we need today to achieve the American dream. We have the knowledge, we have the people, we have the network. Is the economy great? No. But was it really great when I started, really acquiring property on, check to check, but putting everything I had in real estate? No, it was actually the throes of the great financial crisis, but doing it for a decade and watching an economy bounce back and be resilient created wealth, right? So don't tell yourself the economy is such that it isn't possible. Anything's possible if you're good, you're determined, and you go for it. I mean, we still have that. We can still borrow money today, actually a lot easier today than I could borrow after the GFC.
For sure.
There's private lenders out there that fund businesses, and there's risks, and you got to take risks, and nothing is easy, but nothing worth doing is really easy. Nothing that's going to make you wealthy is easy, whether it's in real estate or anything else. But again, you got to choose your heart and you got to believe and you got to go for it.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. The other thing that when I get back to this topic, human nature is what it is. You either are running away from something or running to it. And one of the things that I've always leaned into, at least during the beginning, during the suck, during the hard period is, and I think you were the same way, is you knew what you didn't want.
Yes.
Right. I wasn't chasing wealth. I was running away from being dirt poor. Right.
Yeah,
I was running away. Yeah. I was running away from an environment where if there was no money, it was violent and not a lot of fun.
Me too.
And I never wanted that in my life. Certainly didn't want that for my wife and soon to be, children. And That's what it was for me. So again, whatever you have, whatever that fire you have, hold on to it, because
Mhm.
it's going to get you through the suck. It's going to get you through the hard. It's going to, when mistakes happen, it'll pick yourself up, and you'll keep fighting, because we all make mistakes. The first 5 years suck for
Mm.
everybody.
Yeah.
And, just hold on to that fire.
Yeah, 100%. And just always remind yourself that, like, okay, failure, I forget the quote, but it's something like failure isn't fatal unless it's final, right? Like
Right.
you,
Something like
something
that.
like
Yeah.
that. Like if you choose to give up, then yeah, it's failure's fatal. But if you say, okay, this was a learning experience, it was painful, I lost a lot in whatever ways you lost from that failure, what did I learn from it? And the faster you can learn to evaluate the mistakes that you've made and fix them and say, what would I do differently next time? And then the faster you're able to say, okay, I'm not going to let fear of failure hold me back. I'm going to try it again, do it a little
Hmm.
differently this time, and then take little leaps of faith, right? You don't run a
Yeah.
marathon before you've ever, walked a mile. So you can't just go from walking a mile to like, let's swing for the fences and let's run a marathon. Like, take baby steps and grow and be patient with yourself. I think that's so important too, Michael. We live in a society where people want to get rich quick. We have a very short attention span. We are not patient people. And I think that gets worse for all people over time with a very quick and social media world where, our attention span is something like 30 seconds, I think, right?
Yeah.
It's having that patience to play the long game and realize that nothing, it's not likely that you're going to get rich quick. It's a very, very, very small statistic. I can't tell you what it is, but it's small. And most of the people that get rich really quick lose it just as
I was
quickly.
going to say, yeah, you won't keep it.
No, you've got to have discipline, and you've got to be able to say, okay, I'm playing the long game, and be patient with yourself, and, learn, figure out what you want, create your life by design, like we talked about, a few weeks ago, and say, okay, every day, can I take, two small actions today that are going to move the needle on creating wealth, or creating, maybe it's first just creating stability. For you and I, it was, I have the fear of being in poverty the rest of my life. What steps can I take to become stable? For me, it
Right.
was get a college education. It was working, at a bank, and then learning, getting my financial, some securities licenses, and then going to AIG. And it was like learning about money and getting a career in that and making as much money as I could, just so that I wasn't poverty living check to check. And then from there, it was like, okay, now that I've got some extra money, how do I manage that money well? And then how do I invest it really well? And just taking baby steps and believing in yourself, but taking action every single day to move the needle. And I didn't think, oh, I want to be a millionaire by this date. For me, it was get stable, and then it
Mhm.
was be home with my kids, and then it was how much money, my income, I had to replace a six-figure income to get there. How many rental properties do I need to buy to have a six-figure income sustainable enough that I could quit my job, and then that would be my income? And it was only after, a few years and looking at it and having to do a PFS for a small bank and going, oh my
Wow.
gosh, we're, yeah, we're kind of living check to check because we're investing it all. But wow, we are millionaires. I
Right.
didn't know. I wasn't looking to be a millionaire. I was looking for stability and that next
Mm.
step. And if you do the right thing and you do it over and over and over again, over a decade, your money's going to multiply, and it's just going
For
to
sure.
compound. And that's how it happens. So I think we have to be realistic with people and say that this is not get rich quick. It's not easy to become a millionaire overnight for most people. Some people get lucky. Some people get really innovated at the right time. That's
Mm.
how American dreams have happened for many, many people. But you can play the long game, and you can grow financial stability, and then you can make wise decisions, and you can grow wealth. And I think you and I are an example of the American dream still working. And I
Mhm.
tell you what, Michael, for as many problems as we have in this country, because that's all I hear about in the news around people, we're all worried. We're trying to worry about how do we preserve, our capital, and how do we grow our wealth, and how do we, not lose it all and whatnot. But for all of that, we still live in the most free country in the entire world. We still have more opportunity. That's why people are dying to get here, literally. We have more opportunity than most people in most nations, maybe any country,
Mhm.
still than anywhere else in the world. And so if you think about the fact, Michael, that even our poor people are wealthy by global standards,
Yeah.
You really have to say, we have no excuse to not be able to do better for ourselves than where we are today. We have none. And that should give us hope. And that should, if we
Yeah.
focus on what we can control and ignore the noise and say, okay, despite everything else, what can I do to move the needle forward? What can I do to grow wealth? And how blessed and lucky am I to be in the United States where these things still are possible versus somewhere where it's not?
Yeah, when I think about kind of the framework of this, again, we go back to the very beginning. The average American can't get wealthy. Don't be average.
Yeah.
That's kind of step one of this. The second thing I think is really important, which we've been doing for 6 or 7 years together now, is trying to give people hope or belief.
Mm,
Neither one of us was born with a silver spoon in our mouth. And we went through struggles and hard. That's really why all the millionaire stories are on this channel, because everybody came from, ninth grade dropouts, 200K in negative net worth, and
mhm.
just all kinds of struggle. You got to get around the right people, own your network. I mean, take personal accountability, folks. One of my
Yeah.
favorite books is, what is it? What's it called? Oh, Extreme Ownership.
Yeah.
That's just how I live my life, right? Anytime a bad situation happens, I blame myself. Even if
Yeah.
someone else did this or that, doesn't matter. It's my fault. I picked them, I chose them, whatever the reason is, because I never want to give somebody else power. That was a big thing for me. Is I never wanted to give another human being power over my life, right? I want to assume everything is my problem. Thus, all the good stuff is mine too.
Yeah.
All these things you just have to do. And then the process of getting wealthy is very simple. You have to find a way to create disposable or discretionary income.
Mhm.
Somehow, some way. Multiple jobs. I had 3 jobs. I worked every day of the year except Christmas for
Mm.
almost a decade,
Yeah.
right? I think it was 8 years. Every day except Christmas for 8 years, because I had 3 different jobs. And it's just the price of admission, right? So you got to create discretionary disposable income. Then those become seeds. I recommend becoming an elite investor at something. I chose a very small buy box in a city I never lived in, but you do you. It could be stocks, cryptos, classic cars, trading cards, Pokemon. I don't care what it is, but become the person that sees value. That's the key at
Yeah.
becoming elite. If you
Mhm.
can find value in something that the average person misses, and then you take your seeds of capital and use them, and then that becomes more valuable, and you just keep compounding that is the magic. And then you do that for a decade, and your chances of being wealthy are astronomically better than doing nothing. What do you think?
Absolutely. I couldn't have said it better myself.
Yeah. So that's the key, folks. So again, we want all of you to be wealthy. We it's going to take a season or a decade. You're going to have to make sacrifice. Some of your friends are going to, call you weird names and say you're changing. Good. They should change too. And if they
Mhm.
don't, move on, find new ones. Because
Mhm.
again, it is possible. The American dream is out there, but you got to take it. It's not
Yeah.
given to anybody. You got to go take it.
Absolutely. Yeah, and you better learn quickly how to handle your money, right? And that's what it all comes down to. If you've got it, great, but you got to learn how to handle it. And so become a wise steward of money. Learn to have, like you said, discretionary income. Be patient with what you choose to buy. Don't buy the liability till you have asset to pay for it. All of those kind of things. So if you really want something, you got to educate yourself, and then you got to take action, and you just keep doing it. And I think, like you said, growing wealth, if you're disciplined and determined and have hope and take action and make good decisions, it's inevitable for a lot of people that actually want it.
Couldn't agree more. Anna, where can people find you?
Great. You can find me here on your show. You can find me on social media at Anna Kelly, REI Mom. And if you're interested in real estate and wealth coaching and consulting, you can find me and book an appointment with me at annakellyinvesting.com.
Thank you so much. You're amazing. Take care.
Thank you.